Hey guys, and welcome back to this week's episode where I'm going to talk to you about my top 5 concerns when you're considering opening up your own business. Okay, whether that's a home-based business or any traditional style business, there's actually 5 concerns that you really ought to sit down, research, and think about prior to pulling the trigger. So if that's of interest to you, stay tuned for this week's episode. Alright guys, so I get asked this question a lot, and obviously I'm here to deliver. Let's start with our first concern when it comes to opening up your own business, okay? Now you may have heard this saying before, which I do think has some truth. In order to make money, you must invest money, right? It does seem pretty reasonable. So obviously the first concern is going to be financial investment. How much must you invest in order to get your business off the ground and running and profitable? Obviously, because if you are not aiming for profit, really, what's the point? You have no business doing business, right? So how much money will it cost you to get your business off the ground, right? Licensing, permitting, securing a location, marketing, advertising. What are your overhead costs? If you need staff, how much do you need to pay them, etc. And also consider, what is the total investment again? And then what is the average time it's going to take you to get your return on investment, your ROI, your return on investment, right? In most businesses, depending on the industry, it could take anywhere from 3 to 5 years, right? Are you prepared to wait 3 to 5 years? Now, if you are in a business like myself, where I get to work from home, in financial services and also in real estate, luckily for me, I don't have much overhead that you can actually make your return on investment typically within the first 12 months if you know what you're doing, and obviously aligning with the right mentors and coaching, right? But anyway, the first concern is going to be investment. Okay. Oh, and before we move on to the second one, before I forget, I've heard from a lot of feedback from other friends who've opened other businesses. It could literally be a couple $100s. It could be a couple $1,000s, and sometimes a couple hundreds of thousands of dollars. $200,000, for instance. So definitely do your research. And I'm not saying don't go for it. It's just know what you're getting yourself into and calculate how long is it going to take you to make your return on investment. Because most of us, when we go into the entrepreneur space, don't really think of it that way. And especially a lot of my colleagues in real estate, myself included, when I first entered the industry, I didn't know to sit down and calculate all those things and get really analytical about, when am I going to make my return on investment? You have to protect yourself financially so that when you do start making money, you want to make sure that you're profitable. A lot of business owners, they think they're profitable because they put things on credit cards. But, if you actually do the math, you might be realizing a lot of your profits are going to unnecessary expenses. So start that habit early on by knowing your overall investment piece and developing those expenditure habits, tracking, etc. And especially in your personal life, guys. Come on. Get on top of your finances. Okay. All right, guys, let's talk about the second concern when you're opening up your own business, and that's going to be time commitment, aka time investment, because obviously you may have to put some time into it, especially in the beginning when you're building a business, especially as a real estate agent or in any industry. A lot of it you may have to do on your own until you get off the ground, and then you can start leveraging and delegating out to staff, assistants, or business partners or other teammates. But knowing your time commitment. Why? Because time is the one thing we can never buy back, right? So not to say, don't spend time, but be strategic, right? Once again, be strategic. Potentially interview other successful business owners in your industry. What does their schedule look like? Is that something that you even want to mimic or maintain, right? A lot of businesses out there that, in my opinion, aren't the most effective or systematic. You see a lot of 24/7 type ownership where they're just constantly operating the business. Now, if your business is your lifestyle, that's a little bit different. But let's say you opened a restaurant and you're there all the time. I think the point of opening up your own business is to create some level of financial freedom, which for many people really means time freedom, right? Having the wealth and the finances such that you can enjoy anything in your life, and time is of no consequence, right? So if you're constantly working, when are you gonna have time to enjoy that, right? And if you are a lone ranger, you may not feel comfortable, taking a vacation from your business because you might jeopardize some things, right? So for all my colleagues out there in real estate, I think you know what I mean. You can be making a lot of money, but where's your time, right? And so that's when we start talking about systems and delegation, etc. So that's the second concern, is going to be time. Can you do it part-time? Maybe you have a 9 to 5 and you can start like on the side and then eventually transition to full-time. Or is it something that you really got to be fully immersed in order to even have any success, right? In my industry, well, in both industries, in finances and real estate, most people actually do start part-time, which is smart because until you start making that regular income via commissions, you want to make sure you can handle your expenses. Nobody likes to work with a desperate sales agent. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you have your finances in order, or you have strong reserves, right? So that's the second piece there. Now, let's talk about the third concern, which is going to be need for your service or product. Obviously in real estate, my background in real estate, everyone needs a roof over their head, right? So it was a no-brainer for me to move forward in that industry and knowing how many families I'd be able to help. However, prior to needing or to being able to get that roof over your head, whether renting or buying or even selling, there's a conversation that needs to happen. Money, right? Finances. For my real estate agent friends out there, we call it pre-qualifying, right? Getting pre-approved, especially if you're working with a buyer. Now, let's say we're friends, we want to go on vacation, or, a couple wants to go grocery shopping. What are you going to sit down and do first? Potentially sit down and talk about money, talk about the budget, what can you afford, right? So in my industry, in finances, it's very relevant, the conversation. People are talking about finances and money all the time, and it's very necessary to have in place prior to doing anything else, whether that's business related or personal related or even education related, right? Going to college, it's not free in our country, unfortunately. But anyway, so understanding what the need and demand is of your service or product. Let's say you're going to open a restaurant, right? Maybe, understand the community. What's the demographic? Is this something that people will it become popular, right? Do your research. Now, let's say if we fall on hard times, is this a service and or product that people will continue to purchase even if they fall on hard times, right? So getting clear on that is going to be very important for you and your business. All right, so we talked about investment, time, and need. Now, the fourth concern is going to be knowledge-based, right? How do you become an expert? How do you become the go-to? Obviously, a lot of that is not going to come in the beginning, right? In my opinion, most expertise comes from in the field training, right? If you have a mentor or a coach or business partner who can show you the ropes and train you, right? So in my industry, obviously, working in finances is highly regulated. We want to make sure that we do right by our clients. So on our team, in our industry, we train just like having a parent, right? When you learn how to talk, how to eat, how to walk, you had a parent guiding you and often holding your hand. I really feel that in business, it shouldn't be any different. In real estate, unfortunately, most of the time, it's kind of like you get your license and you're thrown to the wolves. And if you're lucky, you do cross paths with a great mentor who's hopefully a top producer, or you find yourself on a team, and you really got to learn those systems, right? So understand the product, understand the services, plug into any training possible, right? On our team, we have weekly trainings, almost daily actually, learning the product, understanding what's going on in the marketplace, and maybe staying, on the up and up with what's going on current event wise, but definitely be careful about getting sucked into the rabbit hole. I'm a big believer in maintaining a positive mindset. And sometimes if we watch too much of what's going on in the media, it can just sap that positive energy. And I preserve it at all costs. Why? Because it impacts everything else that I do in my life. Now I just learn what I need to learn and then I'm out of there. Okay. Now the final concern, the fifth concern, is going to be risk. Obviously, when you're going to be opening up a business or when you're going to really make any big decision, there's probably some level of risk, which is fine, right? Don't be afraid of risk. In my opinion, life's too short not to move forward on doing things that are closer to helping you achieve your dreams, right? And there is some level of, fear of failure. In my life, I believe in failing forward. Maybe you've heard that saying before. So fast forward 20, 30, 50 years, and if you think you would be kicking yourself for not moving forward, pulling the trigger on this business, it's something to look at, right? And only you can decide if that's something that makes sense or not moving forward on your business opportunity or opening your business, right? But definitely assess what the risk is, especially if there's a high financial investment piece or time piece. And again, we can't buy back time. So money comes and goes, it can be replenished. I'm not too concerned about that. It's the time piece that I'm concerned of. So definitely assess that, but don't let it stop you from listening to what your calling could be, right? Now, if you guys have any questions, drop a note in the comments, hit that like button. I hope you got some value out of this week's episode. I get asked these questions all the time. And if you're looking to partner up in business potentially or collaborate, do feel free to reach out to me and we can certainly talk about that. I am actively mentoring and coaching people in the financial space and in real estate. Whether you are on the West Coast or on the East Coast, I'd love to chat with you. So as always, guys, stay safe and thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for next week's episode and see you later.
You're like a circle that floats around.